Now, the Victorian government has bowed to pressure and announced an inquiry into child abuse by members of the clergy. But the decision to refer the inquiry to a parliamentary committee has disappointed victims' groups who wanted nothing short than a royal commission. For more, Victoria's Attorney-General Robert Clark joins us now from Parliament House in Melbourne. Mr Clark, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Good morning.
We know church sex abuse has triggered dozens of suicides. It has damaged hundreds, if not thousands, of people over the decades. Why has the government balked at establishing a full-scale judicial inquiry, a royal commission?
We gave very careful consideration as to the most appropriate form of the inquiry, and we reached the view that a parliamentary committee for this form of inquiry is in fact the most suitable forum to hold. This is an inquiry that needs to look at broader systemic aspects of what's gone on with child abuse in religious and other non-government organisations. The investigation of individual cases is a matter for the police and the courts, including the coroner. It sees broader issues that need investigation, and the committee also needs to come up with recommendations about potential changes to the law and to policies and practices. In other words, it needs to be focused on reform, it needs to be focused on public policy. We believe that a bipartisan, broadly representative committee of the Parliament is an appropriate forum for that to occur in, and it follows on from similar Senate inquiries into the forgotten Australians in institutional care, into UK child migrants, which have looked at similar issues and come up with good outcomes.
I understand all of that, Mr Clark, but why, given, as you mentioned, the systemic nature of this child abuse, did the government not set up a royal commission?
Well, as I say, we believe that a bipartisan representative group of community representatives, members of Parliament from across both sides, needing to be focused on policy, focused on law and looking at broader systemic issues is more appropriate. A Royal Commission such as the Bushfire Royal Commission that we had in Victoria needs to undertake a detailed forensic examination of individual factual issues and of the responsibilities of different people in discharge of their public duties and come up with specific findings. Here, the particular issues of individual cases, as I say, are matters for the police and the courts, other investigative agencies, the coroner. The key element for this is the broader systemic policy-focused issues. We believe a parliamentary committee is the appropriate forum for that.
This parliamentary committee comprises 6 MPs, 4 of whom have between them 12 months' experience or less in Parliament. Why are they going to be any better in getting to the heart of child sex abuse and nailing those responsible than a retired Supreme Court judge or a QC would under the auspices of a judicial inquiry or a royal commission?
This is the Family and Community Development Committee of the Parliament that's been given the reference. They have a broad remit to look at issues in relation to the family and social issues. This reference falls firmly within that. There's a broad cross-section of membership of it. Although some of the members of it are newly elected to Parliament, people who come to Parliament generally have good prior experience in public life with public issues, often with public office. We have every confidence in the representation on the committee. It's disappointing that the Leader of the Opposition and one of the Labor members of the committee have chose to disparage the work of parliamentary committees. Here in Victoria, parliamentary committees have a very successful and recognised record in inquiring into difficult and complex social issues and coming up with well-considered recommendations.
OK, how will this inquiry work? You said in your announcement yesterday this parliamentary committee will have the power to, quote-unquote, compel people to appear before it. How does that work in practice?
Yes, a parliamentary committee has the full powers to compel people to attend and give evidence, to produce documents. Normally people agree to come along and take part, and the Catholic Church here in Victoria has indicated in Melbourne that it will fully cooperate with the inquiry. Other religious organisations have given similar indications, but if it is necessary, the Parliamentary Committee has the power to compel people to attend and to produce documents and give evidence. And
what are the penalties if people say thanks but no thanks?
Well, ultimately, that would amount to a contempt of Parliament, and it could be dealt with by the Parliament. But
what penalties? OK, let's talk that through. What if, for argument's sake, if a member of the Catholic Church, and of course we must stress this applies to all religions, says that he or she doesn't want to appear before this committee, it's taken to Parliament, what penalties could be applied to that person?
Well, ultimately, the committee is empowered to report to the Parliament, and the Parliament has the capacity to take action against them, to call the person before Parliament to account. But we're really looking at very last resort options here. We've got no reason to expect that people will not cooperate with the inquiries, and certainly parliamentary committees over the years, the Senate inquiries that I've referred to, have not encountered these sorts of difficulties.
Will the committee be asking, for instance, convicted paedophile priests, the likes of Gerald Risdale and Robert Best, to appear before this inquiry to talk about what they know about what you say could be systemic abuse?
Well, the precise course of the inquiry, the particular witnesses and evidence that the inquiry chooses to take will be a matter for the committee. What they normally do is scope the terms of their inquiry, issue a call for public expressions of interest in making submissions, call for submissions, approach particular institutions, particular individuals that they believe would be relevant to their inquiry about giving evidence, but ultimately the committee has the power to send for and take evidence from such persons as it thinks fit.
And on that basis, would you be surprised if the committee didn't call and these people didn't appear, namely Dennis Hart and before him George Pell, who was the former Archbishop of Melbourne, to themselves appear before this inquiry to answer questions?
Look, I don't want to in any way preempt what the committee chooses to do and whom it chooses to ask to come before it. I'm sure the committee will look to seek evidence from a broad range of people whom they believe will provide the answers that it needs.
And finally, before we go, Mr Clark, you've given this committee 1 year to report. At the very least, the Catholic Church itself has acknowledged it's been approached by 300 victims. There's the very real possibility that number would be dwarfed by the number of unreported cases out there. Surely 12 months is not enough to go through each and every case. You've already conceded that this won't be the forensic-style examination we'd get under a Royal Commission, but surely this committee should be given much more time to fully and properly investigate child sexual abuse by the clergy.
Well, we believe a year gives the committee a good opportunity to take written submissions, to decide whom it wants to come before it, to give oral evidence, and importantly to come up with recommendations. It's all very well to take many, many years going through these matters. I understand the Irish Commission has been running for some 9 years. At the end of the day, what will prove the success of this committee is the recommendations that it comes up with and the changes that are made to law and changes that are made to practices as a result of its recommendations.
OK, Robert Clark in Melbourne, I really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.